Everybody, welcome. Your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen, with my good friend and co-host Michael Folks here, and we got a great show in store for you today. We're talking the history of sport fishing. We're talking all the things that the two of us have seen in our little time on this planet. We're going to be talking about the sand bass closure. We got a lot to talk about today, but first of all, I got to let you all know it's Promar Ahi USA Tuesday. We can't do this show without Promar being a big part of the show. I got a good little video to show you about some of their products a little bit later in the show. And thank you, Brian, and everybody over at Promar for always being there to support your saltwater guide and all the guides that work with me. I appreciate everything you all do. Dave Burris, good to see you. And I appreciate all of our sponsors like you can't even comprehend. And I just wanted to throw an update out there real quick. Chris from Colder Ice will be hanging out in my booth. He'll be hanging out at the Something's Fishy's booth. He'll be hanging out over at Dave Farron's booth, Deckhand Sports. But he'll be selling his new ice enhancement product, Colder Ice, over at the Islands Tackle with Sam and the group over there. Colder Ice is a salt additive you put on your ice, Michael, and it makes the ice colder instantly. They did a show last night with Phil Freeman. They put the thermometer in the ice chest. It was 30 degrees. He put the salt on it, and in less than 10 minutes, it was at 12 degrees.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that too cold for the fish? Are they freezing the fish at that temperature?
Well, what it does is it allows you to keep your ice longer. Okay. So when you have it in a kill bag and you're out in the ocean and you're out there for multiple days, or if you're out there for just a very long day, as you know, the ice in your bag melts with the heat and the sun shining on it. The colder you can make it, the better. So okay. I just wanted to clarify, we will not be selling this product in our booth at Your Saltwater Guide. That's not what we do. We will be meeting and greeting and touching everybody and talking about Your Saltwater Guide, but the product itself, we'll show you it at the show, but I want everyone to know that you can purchase it at Island Tackle from Sam and the gang over there. They got a big booth, and they'll be selling the product over there. So I just wanted everybody to know before we get going. Had a lot of people telling me, you guys are selling stuff now? No. I don't want to own a tackle shop. I don't want to get into that business. But Michael, how are you?
I'm doing good, David. Thanks. I appreciate everybody joining us today. I'll cover while you're doing that microphone fix.
Oh, it's done now that this all broke. So whatever it's doing now is what it's going to do. Can you guys hear me okay?
That's better.
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, good. Yep, this whole thing just broke off the back of it. So whatever. What's going on with history of sport fishing?
Well, we've been plowing ahead full speed. Elliot's just been freaking amazing. So some of the stuff he's done is just last couple of posts there on Instagram, I guess, are going viral. We've got one of the swordfish bill going right through the bow of a wooden boat. Probably at least a 400-pound swordie. Got mad at the boat and stuck his bill all the way through the bow. Both sides came out the other side, and you can see the water dripping out where it went in. And then we've got a really great shot of a 4-pole girl being lifted with the old tuna clipper guys out of the rack for the yellowtail derby. And both of those posts are going, Elliot said they're just going viral, which is cool. So.
Oh, yeah, he shared them both on my platform, and that's exactly what's going on over at Your Saltwater Guide on Instagram and Facebook. Thousands and thousands of views very quickly, and that's what we want.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's been a struggle, to be honest with you. Like we talked about before, I spent 4 years making the film. Pretty much didn't leave the studio for 4 years for all intent and purposes. I spent 2 days on my boat in 2 years. One was taking it to the yard, and the other one was bringing it home. Yeah, that's the shot of the sortie going through it. That came through JD's Big Game Tackle, and it was courtesy of a gentleman by the name of Larry Lichtmouth. And it was given to him by Dr. Bill Robinson, I believe in 1975 or 76. So it's a classic picture.
That is a huge swordfish, huh?
Yes, sir. That fish I'm guessing it's 400, 500 pounds without a question with the size of that bill and the length and how wide it is. And that just sums up, to me, that just sums up the entire personality of a swordfish. It's like, do not mess with me. They're called the gladiators of the sea for a reason. They are the most intelligent, hardest fighting, most magnificent fish I've ever had the privilege of doing a battle with.
Yeah, that is such a spectacular fish. Look at the engagement on that for Facebook. My goodness, that is incredible. That was posted yesterday. It already has 1,800 likes and 568 shares, Michael. That's insane.
It's so cool, David, because IGFA, JD's Big Game Tackle, the Tuna Club of Avalon, San Diego Rod and Reel Club, LA Rod and Tuna Club. I mean, Balboa Angling Club, Trout Unlimited. Just the Palm Beach Fishing Club. Just everybody that's been exposed to this film has stepped up and said, "What can we do to help?" And they're opening up their vaults and giving us access to photographs that most people have never seen before. And to be able to have all those resources available to us to compile this series of films, this documentary series, has just been, you hear it over and over again. It's truly been an honor to have been given the custodial opportunity to tell a story about the history of the sport that we all love so much, dating all the way back to 300, the Song Dynasty of 300. So it's one of my favorite pictures of all time right there, with Michael Lerner on the left, and that's Tommy Gifford in the middle, and the boatman trying to get this huge swordfish up onto that wooden skiff. Look at that. I mean,
Crazy.
Crazy. It is. It's just absolutely crazy. So, and that's the one that Elliot posted up for the Yellowtail Derby. And that's another one of my all-time favorites.
Oh, yeah. Yep. She definitely doesn't need 4 poles, but there it is. It's a great picture.
Yeah, she's definitely a 4-pole fish.
Yeah, definitely. Gang, you can check out the whole series. It's a bitchin' series. You got a gnarly kickback coming out of your microphone, Michael.
I do? Is that
Yeah. Yeah, it's like echoing like crazy. I don't know why.
Really?
Gang, if you want to get this, season 7 right now is free, and you save 15% on the rest. You put in the code FLYFISH15 when you're over there checking out, and you'll be like, whoa, all of a sudden I got this. If you come a little closer, Michael, it'll solve the problem.
How's that?
Much better.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little far away.
Yep. No, it's a phenomenal series, gang. We're talking about the series today. We don't have any other guests, so you've got Michael and I, and you can ask Michael any question you want. He can see the questions come up on the screen. I will, if he doesn't see it, I'll relay it to him. But this is an opportunity for those that have seen the show can ask Michael about what this part is, that part. Elliot's throwing up some phenomenal footage. What Elliot's throwing up here are all the clips that have gone viral. What happens is every morning, Michael and I collaborate on these phenomenal pictures that Elliot grabs, and it's just absolutely insane how Elliot can find the stuff and post it, Michael, that you and I would just be like, oh, yeah, it's just a picture of a boat. Elliot's like, that's a cool picture. He posted looking at it in a totally different way than you and I will, and the things go viral.
Yep. He's just an amazing individual. You and I are so lucky to have him. I wouldn't know what to do without him.
Absolutely. Here we are. We're just hanging out, having a conversation, sharing, and Elliot jumps right on here and takes this podcast to a whole different level just by being on here. There's how you can purchase Michael's show. If you want to see this 12-part docuseries, which is the most incredible thing you've ever seen in the fishing industry, it's going to blow your mind. Just the history of sport fishing and how we got to where we are today from where we were when we were painting in the caves. It's an amazing formation, this fishing thing. And to think that I got you with me right now that put this movie together. And you and I have been talking about this movie for 10 plus years.
At least.
You told me you had all this great stuff. And if we don't get it somewhere, Dave, we're going to lose it forever. And I'm so glad that you were able to find a couple people to help you put this thing together. And then now it's available for the masses. Talk about that for a few minutes, buddy.
Well, you nailed it. You nailed it. I'm a collector. I love antiques. I love anything that has to do with fishing. I go to swap meets, garage sales with my wife, and anything I see a rod or reel, I just grab it. Mike Ferrier looked at this collection, who is a historian for the Tuna Club as well as for the International Game Fish Association. He said it's a nice collection. It's a good deckhand collection. It's what the deckhands would have been using back in the day, not the expensive $50,000 Zane Grey reels, but the stuff that deckhands would have been fishing with. So it's a great collection. But you hit on a point early on. I've been collecting all these old films for years, probably 30 years. If I found an old piece of film canister somewhere that says fishing on them, I'll buy it. But the problem was with the celluloid, that stuff starts to go brittle and it starts to dry out. And when it dries out, the films crinkle up and they become unusable. They call them extinct. And if we didn't get all this film footage, and I have like 40,000 feet of film, 35 millimeter original film from Zane Grey. It shows him catching the first 1,000-pound marlin ever captured on a rod and reel in New Zealand in 1926. And we've got footage dating back earlier than that to the first known film of fly fishing with over in Great Britain. But anyway, all of that footage was very vulnerable. And if we didn't digitize it, if we didn't take it up into LA and have them convert all these old films into a digital format, chances are they would have been lost forever. So the first goal, the first mission of this project was to save the film for prosperity. And fortunately, we had Chase Offfield from the Offfield Foundation, the Avalon Museum. Those guys stepped up and helped pay to have this stuff digitized. And that was the first goal, was to preserve this footage in its raw form forever, which we've done. And then once we had that rolling, it was time to jump on and see if we could tell a story. And I've always had a philosophy that you want to cut to content, which means whatever footage you have, you edit it. If you have good content, you keep editing. And so it just kept growing organically. The IGFA opened the doors, Trout Unlimited, Bonefish, Tarpon, and Trust. They just, Orvis, Daiwa, AFCO, the list just goes on and on. And every time a new manufacturer or nonprofit conservation group would open their doors, the film would change. It would just evolve organically. So what started out to be basically a 60 to 75-minute movie on the birth of big game fishing, kind of along the lines of The Endless Summer meets Ken Burns, just organically grew into this 12-hour documentary series. And what I thought was going to take a year turned out to be 4.5 years. We're still in the process of trying to get it distributed. And I noticed someone just wrote in, John, I think, said he finally figured out how to cast it from his phone to his big screen TV. And I'm glad he was able to do that, because that was one of the things that we were really concerned with, was making sure it was an easy transition to subscribe to it and then take your phone and just cast it. You got a smartphone and a smart TV. It just flips it on the dial and you can watch it on your big screen TV. So I appreciate everyone's comments in here and all your support. It just means the world to me, because it really is. This is a grassroots marketing effort to get this exposed.
EJ had a great question, something going back. We all grew up watching Inside Sport Fishing. EJ wanted to know, Michael, how long did it take you to film and produce an episode of Inside Sport Fishing? And how many cameramen?
Well, in full disclosure, basically, when we first started out, I left LA. I was doing major productions, $500,000, $1 million productions, 1 hour specials for Showtime, the Movie Channel, HBO, ESPN. And I did those for years up in LA. And the budget that we had for doing let's say a 1-hour comedy special, filmed live, tape delay, let's say we had $1 million budget. We had what they call a craft services table, which, it's not a meal, it's not a breakfast, lunch, or dinner, but it's Cokes and water and gum and tea and snacks. That was just a craft services table. It was always on set. So anybody who got thirsty would have somewhere to go to get something to eat or a snack. That budget, that craft services budget, was greater than my entire budget for the Inside Sport Fishing episodes. So I had to learn to go from virtually, not unlimited, but a very substantial financial backing to figuring out how to make something for virtually nothing. And when we started out, I had, a couple of cameramen, an underwater guy, an audio engineer. We had a pretty substantial crew for what we were trying to do. And I realized that every crew member you add to the crew, you have to add an extra half an hour in the morning before you're able to get on the boat. So if it's me and Kim, we get on the boat, we get up, we jump on the boat, we're done. You add a person, you need an extra half hour. You add 2 people, you need an extra hour in the morning to put it all together. So long story short, we basically evolved down from a multiple camera crew to me filming 95% of it on my own. And then, fortunately, we were able to get some good underwater divers involved. Bill Wilson, a couple other guys, stepped up and were shooting underwater for us. So basically, for all intent and purposes, we had a 2-man crew. We had me and an underwater diver, and of course, my wife is the support mechanism that kept it all rolling. We couldn't get any more bare bones than a 2-man crew. And I got to a point toward the end of the season, we did it for 27 years. Toward the end, I was able to pick up a camera, walk down to Main Beach here in Laguna before they closed it, and do a surf fishing show and shoot it in like maybe 2 or 3 hours, come home and edit it in 3 or 4 days and have it on the air that week. So we were turning over a half-hour show about every week. We did 26 of those a year for 30 years.
Wow, there you go. That's a little bit of history behind the scenes of what's going on. And think about that. For 30 years, he did that. And like I said, a lot of us grew up watching. Even though we were old when you started, we still got older as we watched it. It was so fun to watch because, like I tell everybody, the best part about watching it was the parts that us as fishermen or boat captains or deckhands, when we would see ourselves on your show. That was pretty spectacular, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, David. It was fun. It was I've told people all along, I've lived a very rich life. I've not gotten rich, but I wouldn't trade it for the world, because I feel like, the 30 years that I got to do Inside Sport Fishing was a gift. When we got to film from the 38th parallel up in Canada, when the frost would finally thaw out and the lakes would open up, we filmed from there all the way down to the tips of Australia, New Zealand, Tahiti, Fiji, Costa Rica, Panama. We've gotten to visit some of the most spectacular destinations, fishing destinations in the world, and I'll be eternally grateful for that. And part of the package that we put together, Dave, on this history of sport fishing, is a VIP package, which we've put together. What I cut together 24 of the best of the Inside Sport Fishing seasons, and was able to really put together some phenomenal Inside Sport Fishing films to go along as part of this history of sport fishing project. So for another few bucks, $25, I think, you get the VIP package, which is over 24 hours, closer to 30 hours of additional programming. So it's a really comprehensive package, and I'm honestly very proud of everything we've got going.
Absolutely. Real quick, though, we got Elliot with us right now. We want to show a clip. We borrowed a piece of your history of sport fishing to throw this out there because we're at the last 2 days, gang. This Zoom meeting is going to be on Thursday. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, ends at 5:30 in the afternoon. I would appreciate every single person that's watching and everybody you know and everybody you've ever come in contact with to join us on this meeting, because this is our final push to save sport fishing in California. Check this out real quick, Michael.
Okay. Not hearing any audio.
Yeah, no audio, Elliot. No
Came
audio.
home at night, he was covered. I remember the very first time I went fishing. I was 3 years old. I remember it like it was yesterday. I didn't know what my dad did. I just know he left for work every day. When he came home at night, he was covered in salt and scales, fish scales, and I didn't even know what a fish scale was, but they were all over his shirt and his pants, his belt. I remember chewing on his belt when I was a baby because it had salt on it. And it felt good in my mouth when I was teething. I swear, I remember all this like it was just, I know it's hard to think that you remember this stuff when you're a little kid, but I do. 3 years old, sitting on the counter, we're going on the afternoon trip with my dad. And my mom putting my shoes on while I'm sitting on the counter telling me we're going fishing with my dad. He was running the Some Fun off the pier, and the boat was tying up to the pier, and I was sitting on the rail with my mom holding me, and she's saying, "That's your dad." And him coming out on the back of the boat and him waving at me and saying, "Hi, David." Oh, I had no idea this was going to hit me this hard. But yeah, I'm 60 years old and I remember it like it was right now. And then we went to go down the ramp and get on the boat. It was incredible, and that was it. I knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I wanted to fish.
Okay, this is the QR code that you're going to use to help save fishing. Can you imagine that is a chapter of my life that my grandkids absolutely may not get to enjoy? Your grandkids, your children may not get to enjoy that. California is on a mission to abolish recreational fishing. A lot of people don't quite understand this barred sand bass. They think that this fish is extinct. There's billions and billions of them. People just don't understand. None of this stuff's ever been done with science. They're closing down another recreational fish, the barred sand bass. This is going to be devastating to our industry, to our children, to our grandchildren, and anybody else that loves to go outside. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not understand what they're doing here in the state of California. They are trying to abolish recreational fishing, and they're using words like sand bass and rockfish and sea bass and barracuda and yellowtail and bonita and white sea bass. But there's plenty of fish in the ocean, gang, if you know where to go and you know how to fish. None of this stuff's done with science. I need every single one of you to understand on the 13th of February, we all need to be involved in this Zoom meeting. I put the QR code up in the beginning of this second part of the video, and it's going to be at the end. That is how you're going to log into this Zoom meeting, gang. Just please help me save fishing in the state of California, gang. Everything that you read about, it's all lies. This is the only way we're going to change this is if we, the people, get involved. I need everybody involved. Please be involved.
I remember the very first time I went fishing. I was
Pretty insane, right?
That's a great promo piece, David.
Thank you. I threw that together last night, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get monetized, but I don't care. I need to save fishing. And it's cool now. I know we've been talking about this for 2.5 months, but it looks like the industry has woken up and everybody's talking about it. And that's all I can hope for is I don't care who's talking about it. I just want everybody to talk about it and everybody that's watching this to share this. What is being lost in this whole thing, gang, is, like I said on that last video, we forgot that this has nothing to do with sand bass, which is the scariest thing out there, Michael, is they're using these words. Like last year they used rockfish and they took that away from us. Now they're using sand bass. It's a systematical taking of a recreational sport that we all love and enjoy. And we have so many people right now, Michael, that want to fight about, well, I don't even like sand bass, so I don't even care. And I hate Dave Hansen, and I'd rather there not be a sand bass than to listen to Dave Hansen again. Well, gang, this is about anybody that goes outside. because when I'm done with this podcast today, I'm jumping right on Cliff Gray's podcast because this is an emergency. We're in an emergency situation in the state of California. You talked about it when I first saw your history of sport fishing. You had that great piece with Frank Lepresti that we were posting for a little bit when you were getting ready. And Frank talked about how they want to abolish recreational fishing in the United States of America. But we can't save the whole country. We can only save one state at a time, gang, and it's up to us. We, the people of the United States of America, we need to get involved. If you were watching this show back in October, we pretty much thought there was no way Orange Man was going to win. Even though we wanted him to win so he could help save the planet, we didn't think it would happen. Just like a lot of you are sitting at home right now going, well, they already made their decision, so there's nothing I can do. Well, if 30,000 of us show up on Thursday, it's going to make them stand up. If you go to the Fishing Game Commission's website and look, they're posting the letters. They only said they got 47 letters. We know that's not true. We know we sent way more. Just the silly people that listen to me, Michael, sent way more than 47. But that's what they're posting. That's what they're letting us see. And out of those 47, there's only 2 opposition letters, which is kind of unique. There's only 2 opposition that want to close fishing.
Oh, that are for the closure.
Yeah, that are against us as people. We the people. The really sad part is they talk big words like diversity and inclusion in the state of California. First thing you're going to do with this closure is you're going to take the underprivileged neighborhoods, and I'm not privileged by any stretch of the imagination, okay? But let's just use the word underprivileged. You're going to take those people out of the scenario because you're not going to allow them to go fish for sustenance, which the sand bass is food. It's a phenomenal food source. It's a great source of protein. And I don't know if you're watching what's going on in California, Michael, but one egg is over $1 now.
Yeah.
One egg costs more than $1.
And there was no eggs on the shelf. Not a case of eggs anywhere on the shelf. In a huge supermarket. It was cleared out.
It's crazy, but now they want to take away. They use words like inclusion and diversity and all that stuff, but then they talk out of both sides of their mouth because the first thing you're going to do is you're going to restrict the people that actually really need this fish to sustain life, and you're not going to allow them to catch it. There's so many bad parts to this. And the other thing is, Michael, people they actually believe the malarkey that they've been fed. They believe that there are no sand bass because they don't know how to fish. They believe because some guy's walking around telling this story, and this is an old wives' story. This is like Johnny Appleseed or what's that other one? The Pied Piper when he walked all the rats to the ocean. These are tall tales. The giant squid had nothing to do with the population of sand bass, gang. That's almost as funny as believing in global warming or acid rain or some of the other phenomenal stories they want you to believe. None of this stuff's true. The population of the sand bass, like we said, we had Roy Rose on here the other day, Mike, and he was saying he can't go to any hard bottom below the border. And if your 6X Junior hits the bottom, you get a 5-pound sand bass. And that's that way from Tijuana all the way down to Mag Bay. They're everywhere. And they're everywhere in Southern California. It's just so sad to think that there's people that could actually help us stop this closure, but they'd rather fight about Dave Hansen or Michael Folks. Yep, and you guys can listen to our podcast every day on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We post these podcasts, go off every day. You'll see the Roy Rose podcast over on Spotify while you're driving in your car. We have over 650 podcasts, and I bring in the biggest names in the industry like Michael Folks, Roy Rose, Dave Marciano, Paul Hebert, Luke McFadden, Reed the Fishmonger, Tommy Gomes. Everybody's trying to tell you there's plenty of fish in the United States waters. Why are we on such a mission to close recreational fishing? I don't understand it, Michael. Can you tell me?
It's the extreme left environmentalists. That's all it is to it. They've pretty much had run of this country for the last 12 years, for the most part, and they basically want to abolish the sport because they think it hurts nature. And fishermen, we're the ones that started conservation back in the 1800s. So the guys that are using the resources, the people that love the sport and are out there participating in it, are the ones that are working the hardest to protect it. And they don't get it. So, I mean, billions of dollars of fraud, waste, and abuse. Yeah, let's abolish sport fishing because we think it hurts the fishies when they get a hook in their mouth. They don't have a nervous system that's even more close to what ours is. So their whole premise is extreme left. They want to do good for the earth, but they have no science behind them. It's all emotionally based decisions. And in California, it's like you said earlier, why even go to the medium? Because they've already predetermined what the outcome's going to be. But Trump, it was too big to rig. And I think that's what we're hoping for on Thursday is that if we show up in unison, if we show up as a bunch of people that care about fishing, and in the kind of numbers that are too big to rig, then they're going to have to listen to us. And if not, we've got enough clout behind us to force them to listen. So, I hate politics. The only politician I've ever had any respect for at all is Mr. Trump. Now President Trump again, thank God. And I think that man alone is setting the template, setting the stage for what we're going to see as we move forward, and as he reinstates America to our glory days, where we the people actually ran the country as opposed to the bureaucrats. And if he can clean that house, I think we've got a good chance of not only saving the sport, but saving our waters, clean water, healthy rivers, healthy lakes, and a healthy ocean. Get rid of the plastic, ocean cleanup. We just need to take care of business and not have them in our pocket tell us what we can and can't do.
No, you're absolutely right. And then we had a gentleman on the show with Michael and I last week, and I didn't agree with much that he had to say. And one thing I promise you I'm never going to agree with is when he said, the best thing for you all to do is not get involved and just let me take care of this for you. What a scary thought that is. What a scary thought that one person thinks that they can actually. The only way this is going to change, gang, is if we make it change as we the people. I don't believe in what that gentleman had to say. I had to bring that out here because that way of thinking has never worked for us. It's not going to work for us. We have to show solidarity, like Michael just said. We have to show that we are sick and tired of this. There's what you guys that are arguing with me don't understand. You have no science to talk about what you're talking about. I only have what I see on a daily basis and what I talk to all my guides and my sister who owns a sport fishing landing in Southern California. And I know what all these people that are fishing their whole lives see on a daily basis. I have to take all that into account. Most of you that are reacting in a negative way to this post, you're doing it because you're emotionally charged by one human being. That'd be Dave Hansen. And that's sad that you would be more than happy to close recreational fishing because you don't like me. I don't get that. It doesn't make sense to me. There's no science. Believe me, Michael and I talked about this before. If there was, Michael and I would be the first people on the bandwagon getting you all to sign the paper to close fishing. We don't want there to not be fish.
You look at what they've done in, like, for example, Oregon and Washington, and the management of their salmon stocks and their steelhead and their sturgeon. Those fisheries are all managed by science. And so that when they say we need a slot limit for sturgeon because so they have a slot limit for sturgeon, which works because the immature fish can't reproduce. There's a certain age there where you can take them and they're not going to hurt the fishery. But then once they get to a certain age, certain size, they become the breeders. You don't want to take the breeders. It's like the big calico bass. The last thing you want to do is pull out an 8 or 10 pound calico bass and throw it on your ice. You know, come on, that fish is 25 or 30 years old. You know, let the breeders do what they do. You know, and Dave and I battled about this since day one. He says if it has a tail and swims, kill it.
If it's legal. If it's legal.
And I've always said, hey, if you're not going to use it, if you're not going to eat it, catch it, take a photograph, and release it. CPR, catch, photograph, and release. I think it's been embraced by a lot of us over the years that we know now that we don't have to fill our sack to have a good day. You know, if I'm out to catch some meat to bring it home and freeze it, I'm going to fill it up to the limit because I'm going to eat that fish over the next 6 months. But I don't need 2 years worth of fish because if I go out again, the stuff that's a year old is going to go in the dumpster. So be smart, be cognizant of what you're doing when you're on the water, use ethical practices, and utilize your fish. When you take a fish, utilize it, make sure you take care of it, that you eat it, and that you release the rest so it can grow. And who knows, the fish you release might just be someone else's fish of a lifetime.
Here's something else that my sister and I were talking about before we went live. Fish for Life. We've shown the live on our show. Elliot's done a lot to help marketing Fish for Life. Fish for Life is taking the handicapped children fishing in Southern California, and they do it up in Santa Barbara. They do it at Dana Wharf Sport Fishing. Gang, these children, this is a massive event to bring them fishing. We put out the red carpet. We make it a spectacular event. All right. Guess what? We've been doing this for such a long time, Michael. These children, when they come on the boat and they catch a fish, you know what the first thing they want to do? They want to measure the fish. They want to see if they can take it home. They want to see if they can eat it. I think it's almost criminal to think that we're going to take this away from so many people. Look at these young people. They're just totally jazzed with the opportunity to catch a fish and take it home and eat it. I don't care if you like to eat fish or you don't like to eat fish. Why are we taking away something like this from people like that have given so much to get these children out on the water to go catch a fish that they want to take home and eat it? Who is Michael Folks to say they got to catch, photograph, and release? And who am I to say that they can only have 2 when the law says they can have 5? And why do I want them not to have what they're allowed to have? Everybody's different. Everybody's different. Because you don't believe what I believe or I don't believe what Mike believes, that doesn't mean that I'm wrong and he's right or he's wrong and I'm right. It just means that we're Americans and we can we can disagree. But when you go into this emotionally and you want to take this fish away from everybody because you don't understand it, I'm sorry, I got a problem with that. I have a big problem with this. When you said you're not political, well, if anybody knows who I am from the old days, this is the last place you would ever hear me talking.
Big time.
Political? Are you?
Yeah, I could care less what's going on in Washington or Sacramento. But all of that in the last 12 years is coming down to basically destroying our rights to engage in outdoor activities. They think we should only observe nature, only participate in nature as an observer. They don't think we should even surf because it could hurt the wave.
It's just ludicrous.
So far, it's so far off on the left that there's no common sense. So, like Dave was saying, love us or hate us, love Dave or hate me, it doesn't matter. Your voice is important. Let's be heard. Let's unify ourselves together as a group of people that love sport fishing and want to protect it for our children and generations to come, period.
And as we all get ready for Thursday, and it's going to start at 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, and we got the link, and we're putting the link up, and we want you all to be involved. Now, this is how I would go about it if I was you and I had to go to a job. I would log on my phone, and I would shove my phone in my pocket. When I get to the office, I would log on my computer in the office, and I would, put it off to the side. And then I would log on to my iPad, and I would log on to every device that I have. And this is going to be it. Lines drawn in the sand. It's time for us to stand up and be a part of this. But one thing, my sister, my brother, everybody involved in helping save fishing wants to make sure you all understand. This is not a time to act like a complete potato head when you get your opportunity to talk for 1 minute.
Not quite
That's
the word we use.
Yeah, Dave Hanson's got to watch what he says. Kelly's writing down exactly what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. But
Girl,
I'm just telling you guys, this is our opportunity. Let's not be the ugly fishermen that they think we are. Let's put together what we want to say, and let's all be on this call. Let's all just be on there. If it doesn't work, what are we out? But if we all wait for those 6 people that show up every time there's a Zoom meeting, there's 6 of them, and if we wait for them to do what they're going to do, and then we look back and we go, well, they took our sand bass away. If we all showed up, it's going to give you a warm, fuzzy feeling inside that at least you tried. If none of us show up and they take it away, you're going to go, what? Maybe if we showed up, it would have helped.
We got to be too big to rig.
And I need everybody. Right now, they're posting the letters that we sent out, gang. If you weren't with us in the beginning of the show, they're posting the letters over there on the fishing game.
I can't believe there's only been 45 people that have written in, or 47 people that have written a letter. It takes 2 seconds. Click on the link and say, "Don't ban our sea bass." That's all it takes. So,
don't ban fishing.
Yeah. It's like we said last week, David. It's the way they've approached this is very, very. I got to hand it to them. They're smart. It's death through 1,000 cuts. Oh, rockfish last year. Let's take away their rockfish. Let's increase this. Let's decrease that. Let's decrease the depth. Okay, let's take away barbed sand bass this year. Oh, the calico bass, they're resident. They can't sustain any more pressure. We got to ban calico bass. Oh, barracuda. Barracuda counts are really low. Let's ban barracuda next. And the one thing last week, I think we talked about was this summer in San Diego. It was probably the best sand bass season that anyone can remember, at least in the last 30 years. And they're saying they're basing this action, this closure, on low fish counts. Well, I doubt if they took this summer's count into consideration, because you couldn't get a jig down to the bottom without getting bit, period.
Yeah, we know they didn't. And Glenn, we know that there was way more than 45 letters or 47 letters or whatever letters, because I can tell you, just in the people that are watching the show right now, if everybody told you right now they sent in a letter, and they did, because there was no reason for them to lie. I know Kelly Girl and I sent 47 letters to 47 people personally ourselves, and we don't really talk to that many people. So I know that part of it, they're not being totally complete. I know it's hard to believe that the government wouldn't be completely honest. I know it's hard for you guys to wrap your heads around, especially all the people that are mad at Elon Musk right now for finding the corruption. Instead of being mad at the corruption, you're mad at Elon. Oh my gosh, gang. If Michael Folks caught someone stealing in my house, that would be like me being mad at Michael for catching the people stealing in my house. Gang, it's time to remove your head from your rectum, and gosh darn, don't believe the lying media and what they're trying to tell you. We know more than 47 letters were sent in, and we know that 30,000 of us are going to show up on Thursday. I can't wait to see how it looks. I can't wait to see what it's going to look like.
You know what might be a good idea is, if anyone's written a letter, CC Dave, send him a copy. So, that way we've got some data that says, hey, we've got 250 or we got 1,000 emails right here, and you're only posting 47 of them. And then we'll have that. So if you're taking the time to write a letter, just CC Dave or myself. And that way we'll have a record of your letter. And if they're trying to hide it, which they are, we'll have the data right here and say, look, we've got 250,000 letters right here. And you're saying there's been 47?
Yeah, it's pretty criminal to see what they're doing to us. It is a criminal organization. All right, it is. It's a criminal organization, and I don't know what the end game is. Like you and Frank talked about it a little bit on the History of Sport Fishing. What is the end game? What is the plan? Why is it so important to stop us from fishing? Why is that the driving force here, Michael?
I don't know. I don't know, David. Honestly, it's incomprehensible to me that I don't know. Like you said, Elon is clearing out the fat. $50 million for condoms, and people are upset at Elon for the government spending $50 million of my money to buy condoms that they're using for bombs in Iraq. Come on. I mean, that's your tax dollar. Can you imagine what that $50 million would do if it was still in the kitty? And Trump, somebody just posted Trump's going to take care of this business. I think he is. I think he's getting to a point where within 4 years, I don't think we're going to have an income tax. I think he's going to tax the countries that we've loaned zillions of dollars to start paying us back and start taking care of us as Americans, as opposed to trying to virtual signal the world. It's time. And this meeting, is it Thursday tomorrow? It's Thursday, right? Not tomorrow. We have the meeting.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
No, the meeting's on Thursday. Tomorrow, we're just doing a great podcast. But gang, here's how important this is. I'm going to be on a podcast right after this podcast. Then I'm going to be on one more tonight. Then I'm going to be on my podcast tomorrow and another podcast tomorrow afternoon. And then I'm going to be sitting in front of my computer all day on Thursday, waiting for my opportunity to talk for one whole minute. This means the world to me, gang. If my sister put out the word to me that we got to save this because our father would be crying. If it rains tomorrow and the next day, those are my father's tears coming down on Southern California because he can't believe that this fish is about to be taken away from us. Something that you don't all understand. You're like, well, we'll just give them another one and then it'll be okay. It isn't going to be okay if you give them another one. You're just laying down. You're just falling into this trap. If you say, oh, we'll just give you one, we only need 4. They already took 5 and we didn't even wait to see what that did. We took the size limit from 12 to 14 inches. Oh, by the way, Michael, I don't know if you know this, but 0 to 14 inches, that's a slot, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's hard to wrap your head around. Oh, I want a slot. Okay, here's your slot, 0 to 14. What else do you got to whine about? My father told me that when I was a little boy, that back in those days, it was 10 inches. And people would go, I need a slot for these. And my dad's all, yeah, 0 to 10, that's your slot. Get over it. 0 to 14 is a slot, no matter how you slice it, no matter what you come up with, gang. But really, the most important thing is there's no shortage of them. There is absolutely no shortage of them. You don't see these giant aggregating, spawning schools of them because of nature, because of the water. We didn't see this blue. Michael, you've been filming for 30 plus years. You would have stumbled into some bluefin in that 30 plus years if they were out there, wouldn't you?
Sir, and they weren't there. I mean, one bluefin was like, it made the news, Western Outdoor News. You got a bluefin on an albacore bite, and a little 15, 20-pound bluefin made the news. And now this year, last 5 or 6 years, we've seen the greatest bluefin fishery in Southern California that we've seen in over 100 years. And they were saying, oh, these bluefin are extinct. Well, they're not. And the sand bass are the same way. Sand bass are a hard fish to find. They're a hard fish to target because they don't school up on a rock or a high spot. They're basically a hard bottom fish that move. And with the water conditions and temperatures and the bait situation, they've migrated to where there's water that fits their needs and the baits they want to eat. And now we're seeing the anchovies starting to come back. The water's starting to chill off. And we're starting to see a return of the sand bass. Right when they're saying, oh, no, you can't tell any more of them. And you said last week, Dave, that was really important. Sand bass have never been a commercial fishery. They've never been a fish that sustained commercial enterprises. And that's one of the reasons they're so healthy. And we point this out over and over again. You cannot hurt a fishery with a rod, reel, and a piece of string.
Not even the great Michael Folks. I've been playing this letter in my head because I have one whole minute to talk when we get to talk on Thursday. And I was playing the game here. Do I say this? Do I say that? What do I say? And I'm like, in 2015, Michael Folks is a member of the Tuna Club. 2015 was the first time wahoo had ever been caught in Southern California. Ever in recorded time. They'd never been caught. Blue marlin were caught in Southern California around Catalina. There's no book in the Tuna Club that shows you. Your camera's turning on and off, Michael. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't either. Just shut off.
You're back. Now you're frozen.
And
Yeah, you're froze.
is
So,
he still coming in, Dave?
yeah, you can still hear you.
I just don't have to look at me anymore.
There you go. But to think, it's hard for people to understand that the ocean works in cycles, but this is a cycle. When the wahoo showed up, that was a weird cycle. It may have happened in the 1600s. We weren't here. We don't know. My father started fishing for a living in 1947. In 1953 and 1954, that's when they saw the first sand bass in Southern California. They'd never seen that fish before. They didn't know what it was. They fished calico bass, barracuda, bonita, albacore. They didn't know what a sand bass was. My father, he's not with us anymore. He can't go back and tell us. He's not going to, but you can watch the videos I have on your Saltwater Guide when I interviewed my dad, and we talk about the sand bass, and there weren't any, and he had to ask the captain at the time, what is this fish? And it's a gray calico bass is what he called it. And he was like,
calico.
and he's like, what is this? And the old timer, that was the captain when my dad was a deckhand, said, that's a sand bass, son. Those things are extinct. And because they had them in the 20s, I guess, and then they left in the 40s, and then they showed back up again in the 50s. This whole thing's cyclical, but the problem is that we got a bunch of people that don't know anything about anything, and if it isn't exactly what it was yesterday, then it's the end of the world. That's why I'm trying to tell you, this cycle thing is as absolute real as it can be. Michael Folks, being a member of the Avalon Tuna Club, they're the ones that kept the books for what was being caught in Southern California. You're going to have a hard time going back and looking for a paper or anything that has fish reports in the 40s or the 30s. They didn't have that. But you know where they did have it? At the Avalon Tuna Club.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that the Tuna Club didn't really fish sand bass. The Tuna Club didn't.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the cycles. What
okay, in general.
Yeah, cycles. You can look at their books. The bluefin, that's what the Avalon Tuna Club was built on. Holden and Farnsworth and those guys. What are they? The leaping bluefin.
Leaping tuna.
The leaping tuna. And they were all around Catalina. And they would see them from the deck at the Tuna Club. They would see them leaping in the bay in Avalon, gang. Then that fish, when Michael and I were young working on the boats, there was giant schools of bluefin all over the kelp beds. Laguna, San Onofre, Redondo Beach. That fish left. And they sounded the alarms, and they wanted to tell us there weren't any. And my father went out there and fought with the guys in SAC, and they went out and they fought, and they got our limit from 0 to 2. In 2014, you were allowed this many bluefin, gang. And we fought so flipping hard. Could you imagine if my dad sucked his thumb and went and said, let the process be the process, and didn't go out there and do what he needed to do? There would be no sport fishing industry. The sport fishing industry has been propped up for the last 10 years by this bluefin. And now we have a chance for the sand bass to come back, and we're gonna allow somebody that knows nothing about nothing to take a fish away from us that has built our industry, and it's gonna be back in numbers we haven't seen in 20 plus years because of the fact that we're in a cold water cycle. And Michael and I have been on the planet a couple more days than most of you, and we haven't seen very many cycles, but we've seen some pretty bitchin' cycles, but we haven't seen that many compared to the amount of cycles going on in the earth.
Well, just look what happened with the albacore. You know, in the 60s and 70s, albacore, that was it. I mean, it was albacore fever. And then as the water started to warm up, those fish started to move further north. And lo and behold, look what slid in underneath them. This is a new school of bluefin. So the ocean moves and lives and breathes, and it has its own ecosystem. And yeah, we influence it. Commercial fishermen, not so much in the United States, because we're the most highly regulated commercial fishing industry in the world. And our commercial fleet, by far, is a sustainable fishery, and they manage it properly. And our commercial fishermen care about it because they know if they fish them to extinction, they're done. So they don't do that. But outside of the U.S., there are rogue nations that are pillaging and raping the fish of the ocean, just like the American buffalo. So and David pointed out earlier, you can love me or hate me, you can love or hate David. It doesn't matter. What matters is if you love the sport of fishing, if you love to fish, be there. Write a letter. Let your voice be heard. It's not right, wrong, or indifference, but we just need to show up as a unified front and let these left-wing extremists that have their heads shoved so far up their chutes that it's all about the money. These commissioners are all on a payroll. And guess who's paying them? The extreme leftists. So, we've got to make our point heard. And I hate keeping, it's too important of an issue to not keep talking about it, because come Thursday, there's going to be some decisions made, and it will be out of our hands. But this is our one chance to really let these people know how off base they are. And there's no science behind their studies. There's no science behind their closures.
So, Matt, I'm going to be on Cliff Gray's podcast this afternoon. Right after this show, we're going to tape it, and then he's going to put it out immediately afterwards. So I'm going to be on Cliff Gray's, and as soon as that thing's done getting taped, Elliot and I will share it over all our social media, plus Cliff Gray. Cliff Gray's super into finding out what's going on here in California, because they're also going to close another area to hunting, which Justin brought to my attention. They're going to take a couple of more sections of California away from the hunters. You're not going to be able to deer hunt in certain areas where the deer are in California. They're on a mission.
You won't be able to hunt over Catalina Island if Newsom and the Catalina Conservancy get their way. They want to slaughter the deer at Catalina Island out of helicopters with machine guns. They want to obliviate the entire deer population of Catalina Island, and they want to hunt them to death because they have a winery there now, and the deer are eating some of the grapes. So we've got to eliminate these non-indigenous species and eliminate the deer like they did the goats. And then as soon as they got rid of the goats, guess what? They had the biggest fire in history at Catalina Island. So it's the political insiders that are doing this. And we've got to stand up and fight, or it's going to be over. Bill Shedd said the same thing. He goes, that bus has already left the station, and if we're standing here arguing about it amongst ourselves, we're going to be blanket toast before we even knew it hit us.
Absolutely. It couldn't say more truth. Yeah, there's so many people comment. I'm sorry, I'm reading while I'm talking.
Yeah, me too.
But gang, what you need to understand, I'm going to go right back to this again, because a lot of you are getting hung up on the word sand bass.
Yeah.
Okay? Please, let's take the word sand bass out, just like we do at AA. If you got a problem with meth, you got a problem with heroin, you got a problem with drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, we change the word and just say alcohol, and we use the same thing goes on right here, right now, gang. There's too many of you getting wound up about the word sand bass. First of all, none of you know. None of you, not one person watching this podcast or anybody really in government knows how many sand bass there are, because there's been no tagging of sand bass since Russ Iser did it back in the 70s. So nobody knows how many there are. So any of you that are saying, oh, well, there ain't that, you don't have a clue. So please. But here's the deal. What I keep trying to tell everybody, this is about recreational fishing in the state of California. It's not about sand bass. That's the word they're using today. Last month, they used rock cod. The month before that, they used the MPAs. The month before that, they used calico bass. The month before that, they used spotted bay bass. You guys have to remove head and look around. This is way bigger than any sand bass is ever going to be. This is taking away your rights to fish in the state of California, period. And what Michael and I talk about this a lot. The Declaration of Independence was written in the oldest, go ahead, Michael.
You got it. Tell them.
The oldest known fishing club, and it was done in the backwoods of Philadelphia. And these men and women are not women, men. I'm sorry, I'm not taking any away from you women. You know how it was back then. These men sat down and wrote the Declaration under. They could have been killed immediately if they found out. They were hiding in a fishing club, writing the Declaration of Independence. It's the most incredible thing you learn when you go watch the history of sport fishing. When Michael lays it out there with his velvety voice and he explains to you, no, I'm serious. If it wasn't for your voice, I would have breezed right over that and not listened. But we at Kelly, we watched it, rewatched it, because it's one of the, it makes me cry when I listen to it and the words and the way you explain it, Michael, because the minute they knew how important fishing was. When you watch that first part of that video that I showed of how I put that out there, because that was one of the best parts of sitting down with Michael and doing the interview. We got that bitch and piece out of that. We didn't even know that that was going to go into the history of sport fishing. I had an interview with Michael in his garage right after my father passed away. And it couldn't have been any better. Neither one of us knew what we were going to get out of that.
No idea.
But because I'm like the rawest human being on the planet. So who'd have thought Dave would have sat there and cried about his dad that he fought tooth and nail with till the day he died. But I don't want to be on a planet where we can't take our grandkids fishing. I don't want to be on a planet where we got to go. Did you see the history of sport fishing? They used to fish in America.
No,
They used to do what? Yeah, they used to fish. Oh, you mean like those patties we get down at the box store? Oh, no. Those are pretend fish. They used to catch real fish. We're not allowed to catch those anymore, though. Really? Why? Well, nobody really knows. We're just not allowed to catch them. Where are they? Oh, they're in the ocean. The ocean? What's that? Well, back when you were young, we used to go out on boats on the, but we can't hurt the water now, so we don't use boats because that's going to harm the water. And we look at it, there's a fence, so you can't go on the sand because you're going to hurt the sand. So there's a fence, and you can look through the fence, and you can see the water over there, and there's these animals that live in it called fish, and people used to believe that they were food. It's the craziest thing. That's where we're headed, gang. You think it's funny? I think it's terrifying. You guys lose the word sand bass when you're talking about this. I see too many people posting here that go, sand bass were decimated in the 80s. No, they weren't. Roy Rose, Michael talked about this. When he was working with his dad on the half-day boats, you'd catch sand bass June, July, August, and about the middle of August, and you'd be catching 1,000 a day, doom, on the sport boats. And then August 12th or 13th, you go out, and there were none.
Fun.
And it was like, do you honestly think we caught them all?
We caught them all. They were stink. We caught them all. And the next year when May rolls around, we start seeing them again. We go, oh, maybe we didn't catch them all.
They're migratory, gang. Migratory. They leave.
They have tails. They have little motors. They motor around to find out the right bait and the right sea temperatures.
Yeah.
Write your letters, guys, please. That's all we can ask you to do is if we're unified and we come across strong, I keep going back to it's too big to rig. That's the only chance we have of saving this fishery, saving all of our fishing rights in this country. And someone posted earlier about Trump loves fishing. He supports us 100%. And I think we've got a leadership that's going to support our rights as Americans to participate in the outdoors. But we have to be heard as a group of individuals. I talk about the wheelhouse mentality. When I was running my boat and running charters, I couldn't even think about what was going on the beach. I couldn't think about reservations. I couldn't think about anything. I had to concentrate on the boat. I had to concentrate on making sure my fuel filters were clean, bait was healthy, tanks were filled up, we had plenty of food, tackle was all rigged. I mean, it was all about running the boat. And that's a wheelhouse mentality. And we all have it. When we get on our boat, or if we go down to the beach, do some fly fishing in the surf or whatever, we're focused on what we're doing. And that's part of the joy of the sport, is that it takes you away from all the crap that surrounds us and lets us focus on something that's a challenge and so rewarding at the same time. And that's where most of us lie, is in that I want to fish. I want to fish because I love it. I want to fish because I enjoy being out in the water and I enjoy being on with a rod in my hand. We've got to let that be heard. So please, please, please take 5 minutes, send a letter, copy Dave, and like he said, if we do that, we'll know in 2 days that we did everything we could to help save our fishing, as opposed to sitting back and go, I didn't like Dave, I don't like folks, those guys are idiots. They're preaching about this, preaching about that. I don't agree, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. Right, wrong, or different. Red, blue, green, orange, pink, it doesn't matter. We want to save our fishers, and we need to be heard.
Yep, we got to be heard this time around. We're going to try it a totally different way. Before we sucked our thumbs and waited for them to tell us what they decided. Let's be involved. Let's be offensive. Let's get in there and see what happens, gang. Tonight, I'll be on Cliff Gray's podcast. We will post it everywhere. Everyone that's asking about it, yes. We're going to post it everywhere. It's going to be hard to not be seen because Cliff Gray is a phenomenal man. He has a huge following on YouTube. He's the guy that takes Joe Rogan out elk hunting. He's a phenomenal hunter all over the world. Plus, he's a expert free diver out there whaling on the big wahoo and the big tuna. He is very, very involved in this thing. He can't believe that they want to take away recreational fishing. He has small children. That's why he's doing this. He's out hunting right now. He's rushing back to the house to do this podcast because he knows how important it is. I reached out to all my influencer buddies, and they're all getting involved, and they're all helping share the word because I'm sorry, the guy that said, you guys should just sit on the sidelines and let me go in there and talk. That's not how it's done anymore, gang. That might have been how it was done in the olden days, but it didn't work then, and it sure the hell ain't going to work now. So let's get involved. Let's be involved. Go check out the History of Sport Fishing. Michael Folks has a phenomenal series over there. But listen, gang, your saltwater guide has been a part of Promar for a very long time, since Kelly Girl caught that. Look at that puppy. Since Kelly Girl caught that big lobster, the world's largest lobster, 18 3/4 pounds. And since then, we've opened up a phenomenal partnership with Promar. I want you to check out the GT4 fluorocarbon. There's Justin Botrell on the pack. You guys want to get the wind-on leaders, the GT4 fluorocarbon, an awesome product. They got a great deal going on right now. You save 15% on anything you order from the website. When you're on the website at Promar, you're going to be blown away by the phenomenal amount of products, from cedar plugs, gaffs, hoop nets, all the gear you need for hooping, and then all the gear you need for fishing for tuna offshore, from your gaffs to your bait scoops to your cedar plugs and everything in between, and then the wind-on leaders. There's so much product over there, and Promar is a big proponent of keeping fishing open, and they're donating a ton of time and money to trying to keep fishing open. They're always right there to help. I thank Promar for being a sponsor of your saltwater guide. I can't do it without them. Hit the QR code, go over there, check out all the phenomenal products they have at Promar. And Justin will be live again on Friday night showing off all the different Promar products, and you guys can check out. Tonight, did you say you're going live, Seawolf? Brett, you're going live tonight? You're going to have your show tonight? A lot of people, he's going to be taxiderming the lobsters. You can watch that on his show live. But as soon as me and Cliff Gray are done today, we'll post it all over the place. You can see what we're talking about. Yeah, it's a big deal, gang. Believe me, it'd be way easier for me just to go hang out on the beach here in Cabo like I used to do every day before it got involved in saving sand bass. I it's all encompassing, and I have a giant interest in this now, and I want to make sure you're all involved with us on Thursday. Don't let me down, gang. Everybody get involved, please. Michael, thank you for being here. What's that puppy's name?
We haven't named her yet. We're still trying to figure it out. She was a rescue pup from the fires in LA. We just got her about 10 days ago.
Oh.
So she was rescued from the fires, and she's just adorable. Here, will you? We're thinking about calling her Breezer.
Hey, what are you doing?
He's looking.
Hello. All right.
Yep. Listen, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank you, Dave, for having me on. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be a part of your show. And it's all the people that are following you that really make this sport what it is. And thank all you guys for your support, for writing in, and for all your efforts to help save the sport. Hopefully we'll get the results we're looking for, and we can move on to talking about funner things than politics.
Yeah. Yes. We'll be back with you tomorrow with Bill Varney and Captain Al Clowers. We'll be talking everything fishing and this silly sand bass closure. I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Turn off the news. They're all